Derek Chisora was still fighting at the top 8 years later. Just talk to me about his progression and how good he's been later on in the years.
Yeah, it's interesting you mentioned that. You know, Derek Chisora and myself had a boxing match in 2012, whilst probably around about exactly the same time Usyk was preparing to win his Olympic gold. So I wouldn't be surprised if Usyk was watching that fight, and here he is, 8 years later, about to step in the ring with that same Derek Chisora, and it's you know, it just shows how seasoned, you know, Derek is, how much experience he's had, you know, compared to Usyk. Usyk, a supreme amateur, you know, a supreme professional at cruiserweight, ticked all the boxes you could ever ask for in terms of a dominant champion. The champions that he faced and beat on foreign soil, the way he did it, you know, the way he's been able to have such a rock solid cruiserweight campaign. He signed it off with the huge fight at the O2 Arena with was it Manchester against Tony Bellew, and he now believes the next phase for him. He's ticked every box in his career, and his next you know, target, which is probably, and has always probably been, his biggest target of being the heavyweight champion of the world. I know as an amateur, it was my dream to win the Olympics. It never happened. You know, I got silver at the World Championships, you know, but I made that up because my ultimate goal was to be the heavyweight champion of the world. And you know, Usyk, you know, he was pretty better amateur than I was in the Olympic gold. You know, as a professional, he's done as much as you possibly can do. But that fight against the heavyweight champion, the big guy, can the small guy beat the big guy? I don't think Usyk has the punch power to become the heavyweight champion. I mean, myself and Evander Holyfield, the only two people to do it, and both of us can crack. If you look at the way he beat Buster Douglas, you know, he punched like a heavyweight. You know, it wasn't pity-patter stuff. He went out there and was willing to lay some leather, some big punches, and I did the same thing. The only reason I believe I had such success at heavyweight was because I punched so hard. And when you're fighting a big guy, you need to hit that big guy hard to get his respect. Because if you don't, he will just use his superior size and strength to grind you down. Everyone tried to do it to me at cruiserweight from my first defense against John Ruiz. First thing he said, I'm just going to go down and put it on me, because I was naturally 90 kilos, he was naturally 115 kilos. He was always significantly bigger than I was, so he wanted to use that advantage in size. But when you hit someone, it puts them on the back foot, and once on the back foot, your superior skills then can rise to the occasion. But Derek Chisora knows you can't have a boxing match with Usyk here. He knows he doesn't want to go out there jab for jab, you know, having a look around him, because what these Eastern European guys, particularly the Ukrainians, so Lomachenko and Usyk, for instance, they wait for the first round. They process you in the first round. They let you do what you're doing, move around. They don't mind losing the first round, second round. They don't mind doing that, because in that first 2 rounds, they're figuring you out. Their boxing brain's just working overdrive to work out what your feints are, what's your movement. When I do this, what do? You know, okay, you jab, then we figure out your distance and your speed. Okay, you didn't hit me there. Okay, you hit me here. They're working you out, and once round 3, 4, they then they go back to their corner, they put a plan to action, and they then implement it, and it's won for him 100% of the time doing that. So that was against cruiserweights.
Yeah. You say that you question whether Usyk can become world champion because you're not sure about his punch power.
It's not because of that. It's because of the size factor and the factor that he doesn't have, as yet, he hasn't shown me in the ring, in amateur, professional cruiserweight or heavyweight, that he can hit a big man who weighs 250 pounds hard enough for them to stand off to stop moving forward.
But the reason I'm about to ask you this is because you have arguably the #1 heavyweight in the world, where it is still questionable whether he has punch power. That's Tyson Fury, and yet he's arguably
he has the size. He has the size though. He weighs 270 odd pounds. You don't need to punch hard at literally one punch. You just need to be that big. You need to be able to absorb what the other person's taking and keep moving forward. Usyk can't do that. It's never been his style to try to use that size. So I know what you're saying. It makes sense. You know, you don't have to be a one-punch knockout specialist to punch, but you need enough power to get the respect of a big man. And has Usyk done anything punch power-wise up until this point? Again, even his only heavyweight fight against Chad Witherspoon, that fight, did he hit him with something so significant that he didn't keep moving forward? No, I wasn't that impressed. I know it was his first fight and he was getting adjusted to the weight, but if there's ever a time to try to jump all over Usyk, is at this stage in his career. You don't want him to have 2 or 3 more fights as a heavyweight to fill into the weight, to get used to training camp, sparring the bigger guys. I think this is the perfect storm and a perfect position where Derek Chisora, of all of his whole career, now he's at his best. He's 36 years old. It sounds crazy, you know. I boxed him when he was 28, and mentally he wasn't a professional fighter. He didn't take training seriously. He didn't live the life. He wasn't sacrificing. He wasn't watching what he was eating. He wasn't watching what he was drinking. He wasn't doing what needs to be done to get the best out of himself. Now he is. He might be a little bit older, a few more miles on the clock, but he's significantly more effective now as a contender than he's ever been. And if there's ever a time that he's needed 12 rounds of hellacious action in him, it's a fight where he could be outboxed for the majority of the fight. But all he needs is 1 round of level landing. The combination that he landed against Spilka. If he lands that against Usyk, they're both similar sizes. Spilka's probably bigger than him. You know, Spilka's gone down to cruiserweight now. So that's how hard he hits. So if he can use it, but once again, Derek Chisora wouldn't be considered a one-punch knockout specialist. But because he's so heavy, and because he's so strong, and he just keeps moving forward.
So that's a Carlos Takam,
yeah, exactly. You know, the fact that he was able to take that beating from Carlos Takam, could Usyk take a beating like that? I don't believe so. I don't believe he never has. And I believe, and the fact that he's never taken it means he's probably quite fresh, but he's then unconditioned to taking abuse because he's so skillful. He never does in sparring and in fights. I'm not saying he's soft. He's not soft. He's tough as they come. But he's never had to take a beating. Not that I've seen. Maybe behind closed doors he has some real tough sparring. But his fights are so calm and he's so in control. He's never had to go soul searching. He's never had to dig deep. Derek's had to dig deep in pretty much all of his fights. He's losing the fight most of the time, and he's got to find a knockout. Sometimes he gets it, sometimes he doesn't. But now he's taking it seriously. He's got 12 rounds of fight in him, and I think Team Usyk have made a horrendous error in picking. They've picked Derek Chisora. They've literally picked. They could have picked anybody. They picked Derek Chisora as their opponent. I think they got it way wrong.
Dave, in regards to Derek's trainer, we know in the last fight he brought in Steve Broadson. For this fight, is there going to be a change of trainer again, or are you sticking with the same guy?
He's been doing a lot of work with Leon Williams. Been doing a lot of stuff with the guys at London Shoot Fight. Ruben Tabares is still in his corner. So he's got a very similar team. He's focusing a lot more on sparring. He's focusing a lot more on sparring action and drills. And this fight is about conditioning. This fight is about him being able to maintain what he does. You know, there's no need trying to teach him how to slip this and do all this technical stuff, because anything technical, this guy wins it. He just needs to be able to attack, and if he's attacking and missing, he just needs to keep going. He just has to. The only way he's got to work his way in. Once he's in, he's got to do as much damage every time he comes into close proximity. It's going to be an exciting fight. It's a tough fight for Derek to win. Many people think he'll get battered over the distance. He'll either lose on points or get stopped late. But Derek knows that. And every time Derek's been up against it, though, against Carlos Takam, I wrote him off. Everyone wrote him off. He found a way to win. Against Spilka, everyone was saying he's a southpaw. Derek don't know how to fight southpaws. Look against the Gashi fight, he looked terrible. Next fight against a better southpaw, he went 9 rounds with Deontay Wilder. He smokes him in a couple of rounds. Same thing with David Price. Everyone thought he had the long range. How's he going to get past the jab? He found a way and got him out of it, up close, inside. That's where Derek does his best work. Outside, it's not his game. But when he gets inside, when he gets rough and tough, that's where Derek Chisora can be effective against anyone in the world. And if you look, if you have a boxing match with Usyk, you lose no matter who you are. That's what I think. Derek Chisora's style is probably the worst style for Usyk. I think sounds weird, but I think Anthony Joshua's style it would be a boxing style. So it would be a long range affair. Anything long range with Usyk, he's winning most of the time. So I think the fight against Chisora is actually more dangerous for Usyk, because it's not a boxing match, it'll be a fight. And I can't see Anthony Joshua just walking into range, taking shots and just to land his own. No, that's not how Anthony Joshua fights. He's a slick boxer. You know, look at his last fight against Andy Ruiz. He was trying to outbox. If he tries to outbox the master boxer, who's pound for pound one of the best at boxing, he's going to have a hard night. But what Derek's going to bring to the table is something very, very different than what AJ will bring, what anybody else will bring, because it's not boxing, it's fighting. It's a big difference, and you'll see on the night what the difference is.
This match, he will fight an Anthony Joshua or somebody else for a world title and can win it. Do you honestly believe he can do that?
I can't think about 1 minute past this fight, but the fact that Eddie couldn't think of a better result than Derek Chisora winning this fight and then going on and fighting. Just what a massive all-British showdown. You know, Derek Chisora's got a massive fan base now. People really got behind him. He was nearly the forgotten man at one stage, but he's shown what most people love. It's the comeback story. It's when people write you off and then you come back and do something significant. And he's changed his life around. He's a born-again Christian now. He's completely changed so much in his life, and he's getting the success that he always should have had that he didn't get. And I think the fans have seen that. They kind of wrote him off a while, and they're like, no, that's your fact. Derek's doing it. They're looking at his Instagram. They're seeing that he's training every day. He's putting the efforts in. He's watching his food. He's ticking all the boxes that you need to tick if you're going to the top. And he's there. He's nearly there, one fight away from it. So, you know, I can't think about, you know, anything past, you know, May 23rd. But I'm telling you, you know, don't write Derek off. Do not write him off.
David, you spoke about physical presence in regards to Usyk. Yourself, you were a cruiserweight, moved up to heavyweight. What was the hardest thing for you to adapt when you moved over to heavyweight?
The hardest thing to adapt with is the mindset that you don't want to put on too much weight. Because instinctively, you want to bulk up. You fight a big guy, you think, okay, I'm only 90 kilos, okay, I'm 95 kilos. You know, I'll be better at 100 kilos, seeing that, for instance, when I fought Klitschko was, I don't know, 115 kilos, I was 95 kilos. And if I could put on another 5 kilos, maybe that'll give me some more punch resistance, but it doesn't, it slows you down. So having the mental side of things, having a team, a strength and conditioning team that don't care what you weigh. They just want you to punch as hard as you can for as long as you can, to have the legs to move around and apply whatever the game plan is that you've set. And if he doesn't have a good team around him, if he comes in at anything over 270, if he puts on any more than 17, 18 pounds, I think it will work against him. And if he comes in 225, for instance, I think that's a fantastic thing for Derek, because he'll have to be carrying around that additional weight. It didn't work for Deontay Wilder putting on the additional weight. You know, it worked for Tyson Fury, but Tyson Fury is a significantly bigger man. You know, when you're the little guy, you need to be the little guy in the fight. You need to fight like a little guy. You can't be the big guy. It's just not, and that was, I'd say, that was the biggest challenge. Being confident that me as a cruiserweight and a little bit more, 5 kilos more than a cruiserweight, being just 10 pounds over the cruiserweight limit, was good enough to fight these giants. That was the toughest part.
David, one last question. Derek Chisora has mentioned he's going to take some dancing lessons to combat the elusiveness of Usyk. How did he get on?
He's good. He's a good dancer. You did some salsa, some merengue, just getting the foot and the hand, the brain and the feet connected. You should check him out. Put some salsa on and see what he can do. He's pretty impressive.
David, thank you very much.
Thank you.